bringing laughter and happiness to audiences. This is how the magnificent Dame Angela Lansbury described her wonderful calling, and she certainly achieved that in every project she worked on. Recent revelations through interviews with her 3 children, family, and our own digging help give insight in why she hated the fame and attention she earned. How did severe loss plague her since childhood? And just how did she rescue her daughter from the infamous Manson family? I'm your host, Nostalgic Nick, with the heartbreaking answer to all these questions and more, including the way acting saved her after terrible loss. If you enjoyed today's deep dive, please give it a thumbs up, it really helps. And subscribe to the channel so you catch all our trips down memory lane. But now, without further ado, be our guest into this deep dive.
For you, I guess. She's our guest.
Did Angela Lansbury have a twin sister? Even before entering the spotlight, Angela had a life like something out of the movies. Everything began picturesque. Her family spent weekdays in London and enjoyed weekends in a quaint farmhouse in Oxfordshire. Then came circumstances beyond any of their control. Angela was just 9 years old when her father died from stomach cancer. The loss obviously crushed her, to the point that the little girl retreated into herself and began to play pretend as different characters, all as a coping mechanism. She would call this loss, quote, "the defining moment of my life. Nothing before or since has affected me so deeply." And with Dad's death also came financial hardship. Everything about this new life was unfamiliar and full of loss. Her mother began seeing someone else just to get things a bit more stable for them, and eventually they got engaged. Thanks to this, Lansbury would become very familiar with being in a blended family, gaining a half-sister and twin brothers. In defiance of her early loss, Angela had an insatiable zest for life and all its wonders. She read every book she could get her hand on, learned all sorts of subjects, and above all else, she watched movie after movie, to the point she was a proud self-proclaimed movie maniac. This helped a bit when tragedy struck once again, when her grandfather died. But her life would be upended yet again when the Blitz hit England. At one point, her school had to be evacuated. Danger was so close. After that, the family decided the safest choice was to relocate to America. Remembering this near brush with death, Angela once said, quote, "We didn't really understand how crucial that journey was, or how imminent our demise might have been. In fact, the very same day the family left via Liverpool, it was bombed. They barely escaped." How old was Angela Lansbury when she got married? Over and over, Angela crossed some major milestones when she was very young. Just a teen when she lost loved ones, she found herself uprooted across the globe. She was only 17 when she appeared in her very first feature film, Gaslight, which put her opposite the imposing and regal star power of Ingrid Bergman. But I think she definitely held her own, and so began a career spanning over 70 incredible years. At 19 years old, she eloped. And on top of this controversy, her husband, actor Richard Cromwell, was 15 years older than she. Maybe unsurprisingly, the marriage didn't last, and within a year they split. It turns out Cromwell was gay, and he married Angela basically to pass as straight. But for Angela, things were very real. She once said, quote, "I had no idea that I was marrying a gay man. I found him such an attractive individual, a very glamorous person. He knew everybody. He was a friend of Joan Crawford's, these people who I was fascinated by as a young actress." So when he just walked away, she was shocked. The whole thing would be a mixed bag of emotions. She had no regrets about the marriage, but she did hate how bad Cromwell felt just for being who he was. And at the end of the day, they became great platonic friends. Cromwell also befriended the guy who became Angela's true love. It was through work that she met actor and producer Peter Shaw, while they both worked for MGM. The two married, and this time they never looked back. They became an ideal power couple, and they won custody of Shaw's son from a previous marriage. That's on top of the 2 kids they had together, Anthony and Deidre. What were the 3 reasons why 1970 was a traumatic year for the Lansbury family? Angela's so good at what she does, it's like she was born to act. But everyone who knew her knew she hated the fame and the worship that came with stardom. She valued her privacy. Angela, who maintained British, Irish, and American citizenship, worked very hard to balance work and family life. She once called it a juggling act, saying, quote, "Juggling marriage and children and problems with drugs, it's simply a question of facing up to certain aspects of family life, and they've had a lot to deal with." Specifically in 1970. First, Peter had to undergo hip replacement. Then the family's Malibu home ended up completely burnt down in a brush fire. Angela used this as a chance to get her family away from the prying eyes of Hollywood, something that became top priority when her kids both developed drug problems, and they uprooted their lives again and settled in Ireland. But fear followed hot on their heels. The drug situation with her kids got worse, to the point that Angela took a year off to help them. Angela was a self-described homebody, so she was in her element. He weighed just 120 pounds. The man was fading fast, and then came every parent's worst nightmare. Anthony suffered an overdose and fell into a coma, but Angela wasn't done worrying for her children. She was far from it. Was Angela Lansbury's daughter in the Manson family? Just as Angela's family life started to fall off kilter, in came the infamous cult leader Charles Manson. Vulnerable individuals were welcomed into his flock, aka the Manson family, living in an echo chamber of doom, hate, and violence. And one of those people who fell under his sway was Angela's daughter Deidre. Apparently, Deidre was helping to financially support the Manson family. Angela quickly realized how manipulative Manson was, calling him, quote, "an extraordinary character who was charismatic in many ways." Deidre was caught up in the Malibu drug scene, making her especially susceptible. Angela began to notice that there were actual factions in the area, all about committing crime, even to the point of violence. It took most parents a while to realize what was happening. She admitted, quote, "We had no experience of drugs. We didn't know the significance of finding a pipe in a drawer. Why would we? But when they did realize who Deidre was hanging out with, this was totally uncharted territory. They had no idea where to even start to fix this." The whole thing would be something that pained Angela to look back on even decades later, one that she fully believed would have cost her children their lives. How did Angela Lansbury save her daughter from the Manson family? Angela knew her children were in trouble, and she pointed to the environment as a significant source of their troubles. They were totally unable to self-destruct, so she wanted to put as much distance as possible and moved the family to Ireland. She explained, quote, "I was drawn to Ireland because it was the birthplace of my mother, and it was also somewhere my children wouldn't be exposed to any more bad influences." She basically exiled herself from her glamorous career she built. When Angela moved, her film debut earned her an Academy Award nomination, and she won a Golden Globe and several Tony Awards. But her stepson was spot on when he said, quote, "She always put family first." Angela recalled, quote, "I refused all work for a year and simply kept house. I bought Elizabeth David's books and learned how to cook properly. It was a wonderful time in my life." She also cut off Deidre from her credit cards. Now Anthony straightened out pretty quick, but Deidre took a bit longer. But as Angela's concerned, better late than never, because as she puts it, quote, "I have no doubt we would have lost one or both of our two if they hadn't been removed to a completely different milieu. We were so very, very lucky we spotted what was happening just in time. It wasn't an ending, but a brand new beginning."
It's a perfect beginning.
Where was Angela Lansbury living when she died? On paper, Angela Lansbury had one of the best careers anyone could hope for, but behind closed doors, she battled some very scary demons that threatened the people she loved most. But we can happily say she felt very fulfilled by it all. Her family did stabilize. Deidre got married, moved to LA, and opened an Italian restaurant with her husband, where Anthony became a director and directed over 60 episodes of Murder, She Wrote. Angela became a happy grandmother and then a great-grandmother, and she very quickly took up the job of spoiling the little bundle rotten. Welcoming this new family member, Angela said that the only thing she'd want more time for in life was more time with her great-grandkid. Family came first before anything else. It influenced her major life choices, not the other way around. She joined the cast of Beauty and the Beast because it would give her more time with her family. And it was family that she was surrounded by when she passed away peacefully asleep in her LA home in 2022. The remarkable actress was 96 years old. Oh, but of course she had one last cheeky surprise. She had conducted an interview to be released after her death. In it, she got very candid, calling herself too good an actress. Not a pretty face, but a powerhouse of talent.
I can say this in all honesty, I was too good an actress. I was primarily an actress and not a pretty face.
Her husband wasn't quite on her level, but that wasn't enough to keep her from calling Shaw, quote, my mentor, my manager, my everything. Few actors boast a collection of awards that match the beloved cultural impact that they have on multiple generations. But Angela Lansbury defied all expectations, finding herself on a remarkable path to success and fame after a difficult whirlwind of a start that was all set to keep her from fame, but ultimately shaped her into the incredible person she was. So what was your favorite role Dame Angela Lansbury performed? Be our guest and get in the comments and tell us. I will take any Angela Lansbury recommendation to watch. And while you're in the comments, tell us who we should cover next. If you enjoyed our Dame deep dive, please give it a thumbs up, it really helps. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss a memory. But from all of us here at Do You Remember, we want to thank you very much for watching.